What has been the most embarrassing moment where you have been exposed as a creep? I'll start. I was stumbling through a chatroulette with some buddies while wearing costumes, or some type of random clothing, as men do while on chatroulette, when we came across a few cute girls. They didn't next us right away, and we were able to strike up a conversation and exchange names, general locations. Well, being the proficient Facebook creeper that I am, I quickly found their profiles and was swapping between said profile and the video chat. I was wearing a pair of large sunglasses and the girl commented on them, saying you look creepy with those glasses on. Being a little animated, I moved my face glasses right next to the webcam and slyly asked with a big grin what's so creepy about them. She said I can see my Facebook profile in their reflection. Slow clap. In 3rd grade we had story time where we sat on the floor and the teacher sat in a chair and read to us. I was goofing off in the back of the class, so my teacher made me sit in the front row. I sarcastically sat as close to her as possible. After a minute she looked down and asked, "Are you smelling my leg?" I definitely was not, but she wouldn't let me explain. At the next parent-teacher conference she told my mom that I was smelling her leg. I am not a leg smeller. That is exactly what a freaking leg smeller would say. It was 1:30 AM. Leaving a bar with some friends after celebrating a birthday party, we decided to run a few blocks to this huge playground, one of those massive wooden ones, in City Park to play some hide and seek. We start, and I find this amazing hidden nook inside the middle of the main part of the structure that I had to crawl to get to. There was only one opening and it was very hard to see, but I had eyes on almost the whole playground. After a while of listening to others get caught, run by, re-hide, etc., I hear two people approach and start to make out. Initially I thought it was some of my friends, but I soon learned that the girl had blindfolded her man and led him to the park to have some late night kinky fun. They start to get R-rated, then move past it straight to the naughtiness. All the while, I'm literally sitting just a few feet away on the other side of a wooden planked wall. At this point I'm already wondering, okay, do I say something? Cough, let them know someone is here. I didn't want to listen in, but it was so awkward being there. After a few minutes of mouth stuff and hand stuff, they move and circle around my hiding spot, around these little stairs, and eventually right in front of the opening to my perfect hiding spot. Now, at this point I've been hiding there for some time, and listening to them for a good while. If I came out now and made myself known, I'd for sure look like a creep. That, and give away my awesome hiding spot. So there they are, a mere few feet from me, hiding in pitch darkness, hearing them and now seeing them get down to business. At that moment, a couple of my friends who were now searching, the game was still on this whole time BTW, ran into them and everyone explodes in a cacophony of laughter. The couple were giggling hysterically and trying to cover themselves, and my friends laughing as they explain that there's a bunch of people in the park playing hide and seek. My friends leave to search some more, and the couple actually start to get back to it. After another minute of still laughing, the girl gets up and says, "Wait, wouldn't it be hilarious if someone had been watching us the whole time?" Her man agreed, but said there's no way. She looks up, directly at my hiding spot. "Wait, shut up. I think I see something." I freeze. "There's no way. I think there's someone over there. Hiding." "No way, babe." It was at this perfect moment that I slowly turned my head, put a finger up to my lips and in the loudest whisper I could muster, SHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHH. They exploded in laughter and scrambled to collect their clothes, all the while running out of the park. I was found a minute later. You forgot the part where you masturbated violently. Windows Media Player. Would you like to import your entire library? Why not? Entire library meaning songs and videos. Later. Cute girl. You have so many cool songs. Hitting next. Shuffle. The nastiest gangbang P ever. Poker face. Never go full import. When I was in high school I worked at a grocery store situated between 3 retirement homes. There was such a lack of hot girls that walked into the store that we would point out every single one. One evening this mom and her 3 daughters came in. I told my friend at the register how doable all 4 were. He then said, "Dude, that's my family." I said, "Balls." That's when his mom said to him, "Hi honey." I was silent and embarrassed during the entire transaction. He was cool and laughed about it once they left. TLDR. Told a co-worker I would frick his entire family. I picture you saying, "Dude, I would totally frick your whole family," and laughing. I was misunderstood, I swear. Last year I was visiting a female friend of mine and her roommate over at a different college for a few days. Now, over the past few months I had gone shoe shopping a lot with a few different girls. I started to get pretty good at picking out women's shoes, matching individual styles, guessing sizes, etc. Well anyway, one morning we were all sitting around in their apartment and I noticed my one friend had a pretty nice pair of flats on. She's got to be a size 36, I thought to myself, but I didn't say anything because I thought that would be a weird creepy thing to just blurt out. You know, these people just didn't know how good I was at shopping for girl shoes. So I did the smart thing and waited for the girl to take her shoes off so I could sneak over and check them out. While I was left alone in my friend's room, that's where I was staying, I picked up one of her shoes and took a look. 36. I knew it, I thought, just as I saw the door swing open. My friend's roommate was standing there, staring at me with a shocked look, and I froze with the shoe in my hand. I suddenly realized that it looked like I was smelling the shoe, and I dropped it fast, but the roommate had already shut the door. TLDR. Caught huffing shoes. Freshman year of college, public speaking class. The professor decides to videotape everyone's speech so we could all see how we looked when speaking, except that the professor decided to let people move their desks to form a circle with the person talking in the middle. Because of how the professor set up the tripod, I was directly in the camcorder's line of sight. And of course the camcorder caught me staring at the butt of every girl who was speaking in front of me, complete with one raised eyebrow and a slight grin while staring. Plus I was caught trying to stifle some major laughter when a fat guy went up there talking about natural gas. Honestly, that grin and eyebrow comment makes it less creeperish and just plain funny. There was this tutor I had in university who I had a huge crush on. I was walking through the hall talking to my friends about her and I think I said something along the lines of her. I actually used her name, but looks so amazing. It's a shame when she wears a loose dress. She then struts past me wearing these tight pants and says I'm assuming these are more appropriate then. My friends are giggling to themselves and I just froze up. I didn't know how to respond. I had to endure another 2 tutorials with her. She did give me a homemade cinnamon roll though when I last visited her. I guess flattery can get you some things. My friend told me he'd just been shopping and had seen this fit girl at the stop before he got on the bus and that she'd looked at him. He didn't speak to her on the bus and then regretted it, so ended up looking for her around the shopping center high street for about 2 hours. Eventually he saw her coming out of a shop and said, "I've been looking for you everywhere," at which point she screamed frick off and ran away. I had to explain to him how creepy this was. That's creepy as frick. In high school when I was in 9th grade I had a study hall where I sat next to a relatively attractive girl. One day I decided to take a nap with my coat over my head, except I made a peephole for my eye so I could look at the girl sitting next to me. I thought the hole was small enough, but after about 20 seconds of looking, the girl makes eye contact with me and shyly looked back down at her work. I stayed in my coat cocoon until the end of the period. She also didn't move from sitting next to me. Relatively attractive is the best kind. Not so bad, but I was going to a party at night. Guests had to park a block away since there was no parking closer, so this girl and I park at the same time, but she's about 20 feet ahead, going to the same party down a dark road. I, a 6'4" white guy, have to go in the same direction, and I see her quickly glance back at me. Don't act rapist. Don't act rapist. But eventually she was like, "Hey, are you going to the party? You can walk with me and stop acting like a rapist." We got along at the party. First impression is I'm a rapist? Can only get better from there. Till that some guys need to remind themselves not to act all rappy. Having pee up on my computer of busty teen redheads, then having my busty teen redhead friend find it, but that's pretty standard it seems. We're gonna need some links. I'm not even gonna lie and say it's for science, it's for my penis. I used to go to a Chinese restaurant located in the middle of a food court every day on the way to from work. A beautiful girl worked there and I would always glance to see if she was working or not before going over to order. One day I was peering around the corner. I couldn't see her, so I turned around to leave and she was standing right behind looking at me like I was a serial killer. I locked up, then blurted out that she was cute and asked for her phone number. She denied it and walked away. I thought I ruined it. A week later, she tracks me down on Google+. She memorized my name from my debit card and was really shy, I guess. Now we're dating. I don't know who's creepier, but it was a relief to know I wasn't alone. Upvote for creepiness bringing you together. I took a screenshot of a conversation with a guy I hadn't talked to in a while and meant to send it to a friend to show that I was talking to him again. I sent it to the guy. Just for your records. Last year I was at the park playground babysitting. I was a large 21-year-old male with unkempt beard sitting alone at the park watching a group of 7-year-old girls playing. There were 2 benches side by side, with me at the edge of one of them. Some lady with kids shows up and sits at the opposite end from me. What she never sees is the Bluetooth in my ear, on the far side. So she's there for about half an hour now and I'm still just watching the girl I'm supposed to be watching when I get a call. I answer and it's my friend talking about the party we were at last night. He says, "Dang dude, did you see how hot girl 1 looked last night? And all her friends were so sexy." That's when I reply, "I know. The one in the Powerpuff Girls shirt was the hottest for sure." The mom gets up, grabs her kids, and leaves. Like super fast. I didn't even realize what she thought till a couple of seconds too late to even try and explain anything at all. TLDR at park babysitting. Say something on phone about hot girl in Powerpuff Girls shirt. Mom grabs her kids and gets the frick out. Sitting on a park bench. Got a little buzzed and was chatting this girl up on Facebook. We started talking tacos, so obviously I decided to hop on my bicycle and pedal my way to the Taco Bell. I loaded my jacket pockets up with tacos, biked to her apartment, called her and said, "Hey, I'm outside your place." She was like, "Liar, you don't know where I live." I responded, "Oh, wait, are you sure?" Then she peeked out the curtains to see me on the sidewalk with a jacket full of tacos. When I first met my wife, I had asked her to come over to my place for dinner. She'd never been. I asked her if she needed directions. She said she already knew where I lived. It was cool. I guess I passed her background check. That would probably be during my junior year in high school. I went to a boarding school, and somehow we'd managed to get our own Facebook network. This was back when Facebook was primarily for college students only, so everyone was posting pictures like crazy. Over my time browsing, being the little perv I was, I had saved probably around 100 pictures of various girls from my small school wearing bikinis, tight sweaters, or even just smiling and other stuff like that, into a folder on my desktop named Fun Stuff. I never really let anyone use my computer back then, so I never thought it would be a problem. But one day my roommate's girlfriend was over and she needed to print off an essay, so I nervously said, "Oh yeah, sure," not wanting to be weird and tell her, "No, you can't write after I'd just 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 write after I'd." So she plugged in her thumb drive and was printing off her paper and I figured everything would be fine. I turned my back for about 10 seconds and I heard her say, "Oh, fun stuff. Huh, what's this?" I turned around to her, scrolling through all of the pictures of our female classmates I'd saved in a folder, some of which included her. She sat there silently like that, scrolling through the pictures for about 30 seconds and then turned around and saw me blushing like crazy and trying to come up with some kind of excuse and just said, "Don't worry, I won't tell," and winked at me before grabbing her paper and skipping off on her way. I deleted them after that. I am super dang lucky that she was so cool. Some of the girls at my high school would have flipped crap if they found that collection of pictures, despite the fact that they were all available for anyone on Facebook. Moral of the story: there is no moral of the story. The end. Always use new folder. My brother was in high school and used to film the football practices and games, edit them down, and sell the highlight tapes to people at school. However, since he was in high school, he also used to make tapes of the cheerleaders practicing or just lounging around. For, research purposes later. Didn't sell those though. Cut to him riding home with the players and cheerleaders from a game and reviewing the tape. The guys are gathered around to see the game tape. At the end of the tape it runs out and immediately cuts to a cheerleader sitting on a bleacher before zooming in on her exposed panties. The player sitting across from my brother, that's my frickin' girlfriend dude. He told me it was an awkward 2 hours home. Your brother should have told him it was for science. Persuaded insanely hot girl to come round my place after hanging out at college after class. Waiting for her to arrive. I have an anticipatory chat with fellow creep on MSN. The worst kind of freshman immaturity in full flow. Her potential for taking multiple dongs anally and so forth. She turns up. As is my custom, I'll lose all ability to think or talk coherently and resort to trying to impress her with technology. See Bose stereo? See retro consoles? She seems appreciative. Continue tour. Witness the awesomeness of connecting my VAIO laptop to my new 42 inches plasma. A flashing message in my taskbar. Let's just absent-mindedly click on that. The whole convo revealed in a flash of vast towering letters. The whole disgusting, legally questionable disgrace of the thing. No, I can't close the window. We seem to have referred to her by name in every single message. She says she's entitled to see. And no, she couldn't take that many dongs. She explains, pulling her coat back on. Not even one, as it happens. Just reading that was awkward. When I was going into 9th grade, I lived next door to this girl who had just graduated high school. She used to lay out in the sun with her friend on their driveway in bikinis. Their driveway was right next to the side of our house. I was home for the summer alone and peeking fapping. All of a sudden one of them must have seen my shadow through the window and yells, "We see you pervert." I came right when she yelled it, all over the carpet. Must be why I have a fantasy now of somebody watching me catching me flog the dolphin. Add it to vocabulary, to flog the dolphin. Recently, I was senior in college, chilling on my computer, which is on a corner desk. So I was facing the corner, just chilling playing games on Newgrounds, for Sebakin, etc. My bedroom door was usually in my peripheral vision, but I was focused on this random game so I couldn't see it at all. Eventually, I went over to Facebook and found this girl had posted some photos from the annual Undie run. I commenced creeping on the album. A good 5-7 minutes into the creeping, I get a text from my girlfriend. Turn around. Yes, my girlfriend had come over, snuck into my room while I was gaming and watched me creeping on a random Facebook girl's scandalous photos for more than 5 minutes. Man, that story is the equivalent of the murderer making menacing calls from the phone in the attic. Shudder. In 9th or 10th grade, I decided to take a fake penis to school to show off to my buddies. My dad had gotten it as a gag gift for his 50th birthday from people at his work. It had a little strap that you could put around your ankle so that when you pulled up your pants it looked like you were really hung. Well, anyway, I told the wrong person that I had it at some point. During class I decided I needed to go to the bathroom and take a leak. I left my hat and bag, containing the phallus, in the classroom. On my way back, as I rounded the corner I could see that the teacher was standing with the dildo wrapped up in my hat in front of the class. The dickhead kid that I mentioned my prize to took it out when I left the room and was throwing it around. Some girl, actually trying to be nice to me, told everyone to STFU because it's no one's business if I want to have a dildo in my bag. LOL. Good times. Every time I wake up after a bender, or party or lonely night with a bottle, and read my multiple attempts at drunk sexting to girls I haven't talked to in weeks prior, and their responses. Every single time. God bless the ones who forget how. A few months ago, I was chatting with some girl who was way too amazing to be legit. I figured it was a particularly evil ex of mine trying to toy with me. So I took the interwebs while chatting with her, digging up every little bit of info I could. Reverse Google image searches from display pictures led to links to assorted profiles. Within about 15 minutes I had her Facebook, address, phone number, pretty much everything I needed to verify she was in fact a real person. I mentioned something to the effect of, "Oh, looks like you're a real person after all." She pressed for details and so I told her what I did. After writing it out I realized I just nerd creeped her. She was equal parts creeped out and impressed. And now she's my girlfriend of 2 months. TL. DR. Moral. Sometimes creeping can get you a girlfriend. I was eating lunch with one of my co-workers at Wendy's and a MILF sat down about 2 tables away with her young son. I was creeping very hard for about 5 minutes and all of a sudden her boy said out loud, "Mom, that guy is staring at you." Junior year of HS. I lived in a small town that had a small school, around 400 students from K-12. In the high school there were booths out in the main foyer where the students would congregate in the morning before first bell or after they had returned from lunch before the start of the next class period. These booths were mainly controlled by the juniors and seniors, as you can imagine, and I was not against taking my spot in these booths. I had arrived to school early one morning and taken a spot in one of these booths, which happened to be next to another booth with 4 of the most attractive junior-senior girls. I had noticed them, but them occupying a booth or me occupying a booth was not uncommon. I usually had a couple of friends to join me, but on this morning they were not around. I'm going about my business reading a book when 3 of the jock types come up and immediately occupy the rest of the booth with me, pinning me in one of the inner seats next to the wall. I was not fearful of these guys, but they did like to mess with me on occasion. I figured about 5-10 minutes of ridicule and it would be over. The pseudo leader, who resembled a Neanderthal, was the one who had taken the seat next to me and pinned me in the inner seat against the wall. I am constantly looking away from them, trying to ignore the insults. Well, take a guess as to where one of the areas I'm looking away from these jock types? The booth with the hot girls. After a few minutes of my focus being away from these idiots and on the girls, the Neanderthal catches on to what I'm doing. Wrong time to get an awkward boner. I made the mistake of trying to slip my book down in my lap to cover it up, which only brought it to attention of the Neanderthal. The next statement by him haunted me the rest of my days in school. "Willie has a boner for Becky." So there I sat with this raging hard-on, trapped in a booth with these hormonal jocks for the next few minutes while everyone hanging around in the foyer, including the hot girls, gave me this stare. This stare would turn into the loudest round of laughter I have ever heard at that school. It brought teachers out of their classrooms and down 2 sets of halls and even brought the principal out to investigate. There I sat, unable to go anywhere, trapped by this Neanderthal taking the ridicule of the school. I felt like the biggest creep that had ever walked the halls for a long time after that, and had others remind me of that fact for the remainder of time in school. I realize now that it was just a bad situation and really bad timing getting an awkward boner. TLDR. Got trapped by a jock in a booth. Awkward boner pointed out to the hottest girls in the school, where 3/4 of the school was gathered before school. Got caught staring at this chick's amazing rack in a bar. She yelled, "Are you looking at my tea?" And I replied, "Isn't that kind of the point of your push-up bra?" She laughed, but I didn't get laid. So, back during the summer between my freshman and sophomore years of undergrad, I was making a road trip out from Chicago to Ohio to visit some of my new college buddies to hang out for a weekend. A bit of a backstory: I'm one of the most considerate drivers out there. I'll always let you in, I always signal, stay out of the left lane unless passing, the works. Now, I'm also a bit of a car nut, so I'm typically well aware of the makes and models of different cars on the road. Now, I don't know if this is just me, but something I noticed back in the years from, say, 1997 through 2004. Practically every terrible driver I saw tended to be behind the wheel of a Pontiac. I don't know why this is the case. Maybe because they were driving excitement. I'm not ragging on Pontiac, the car, either. I've rented them more than a few times and had a pleasant enough experience. So, it's mainly just the driver. And each time I had the chance to catch a glimpse of these drivers, it was usually a sight to behold. Anyway, so I had just gotten one of those newfangled camera phones. Stay with me here, and I decided as a hobby to keep a photographic record of every insane Pontiac driver I saw and assemble it into a collage. You know, for the shoots and or giggles. Anyway, I was driving next to a Grand Am on a rural Ohio highway doing about 70 when I see the tinted rear window roll down, and a kid, no more than 10 years old, start to relieve himself out of it. You can see where this is headed. Without really thinking it through, I pull alongside the Pontiac and take a picture, thinking that this was one of the dang most insane things I've ever seen, and in a Pontiac, no less. So, the adult riding in the passenger seat witnesses my picture taking, and I see her freaking out, presumably thinking that the next step in this ritual is something likely involving lotion, hands, and a garden hose. I saw her copy down my license plate and make a phone call. Nothing ever came of it, though. To this day, the collage remains incomplete. It'd be awfully hard to report to the police without them either A, laughing at you so loudly and thoroughly that you hang up, or B, asking if you really want to file this report, in which your son will be identified as a sex offender for exposing himself in public. But he might have been a pedophile doesn't play when the kid's exposing himself in public. I've only attended private schools, none which offered daily transportation for students. Consequently, I utilized the public transit system to make it to and from school every day, as did many fellow classmates, until I was able to drive as a teenager. I've never been the friendliest person around, and in junior high I hadn't quite learned the value of fake it to make it in terms of networking and developing relationships. In other words, I was a loner. My pastime of choice every day, as I sat alone on the typically crowded bus, was to write. Specifically, I would select one or more strangers on the bus, and write an extremely brief micro/novella with him or them as the unsuspecting victim. I used the same spiral notebook for all my work, and I like making the occasional crossover reference from story to story. The anti-hero killer was based on the sharp, well-dressed villain from my favorite horror film at the time, Blood and Black Lace. Like the character from the film, I challenged myself each day to think of new and creative ways of wreaking havoc and death. It was a fantastic imaginative outlet for me at the time. One particular day, I had finished a story in no more than 10 minutes, with the memorably attractive red-headed woman sitting one row behind me as a victim. After shuffling through several entries, including my latest, and organizing them into a new, larger manila folder I had recently purchased, I moved on to a new victim. Not even 2 minutes later, an exciting new idea came to mind and I decided to review my previous story. To my confusion, however, my new folder was nowhere to be found, nor were any of its contents. Confusion quickly turned to mounting panic as I frantically rifled through my textbooks and backpack, despite knowing for certain it wouldn't be there. Too horrified to look around the bus, and too awkward to speak to anyone, I hurriedly got off at the next step. I was nowhere near my destination, and it took an extra hour to get home that day. I never rode that route from school ever again, in fear I'd be arrested. TLDR, someone, somewhere, has read all my 12-year-old adolescent fantasies of inventively killing everyone I've ever encountered on a public transit bus. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.